Pierre Polyev talking about the castle law
Yeah.
and bringing in, because I'm looking at this, I almost thought it was one of those AI memes, because I'm like, here we are in Canada having to talk about a homeowner having the ability to protect themselves.
And boom, we are live. What's up, everybody? Couple Casuals Podcast. I'm your host, Stefano. And guys, we got a very important conversation for you guys today. My guest today is a former police officer. He is the Chief Defense Officer for Canada First, and he has an immense amount of knowledge regarding crime and safety. So I'm very much looking forward to this conversation today. And guys, today's conversation is brought to you by Canada First. Secure your home with Canada's best home fortification. Visit them at canadafirst.com to learn more. So with that being said, guys, I want to welcome Chad to the podcast.
Hey, guys. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it. Stefano, it's a pleasure to come here and have a chat with you and talk about all the, things going on right now in the world.
100%, Chad. And you know what? I appreciate you coming on. I appreciate you taking the time driving down from where you're driving down in the city of Toronto here. A lot has changed in this city. A lot has changed in this country, man. Mm-hmm. And that's why this conversation is so important today. I've been working with Canada First now for 2 months now, and it's been amazing to see what you guys are doing and what you're bringing to the table for home fortification. Canadians need to hear a conversation like this, and we're going to talk a lot about home fortification. We're going to start with a little background with you, and then we'll get into crime and safety prevention, and then home fortification, the importance of it. But Canadians are concerned, and this conversation is going to provide them with some good insight on the importance of home fortification and what you guys bring to the table. But man, Canada is in a different stage right now. Would you agree?
Oh, 100%. I mean, I'm older than you are, however, but, you remember all the guys that I have now that we talked to back when we were kids playing road hockey.
Right.
You could run into your buddy's house and grab a drink and the doors are open and you could go in at 10 o'clock at night. Like, hey, man, what are we doing tomorrow? Now you'd be stuck at a gate or security or whatever to get through the door, right? And we just all have that different psychological feeling of safety. Right, compared to 15, 20 years ago to where we are today. And this is what, this is where the change is. We're now, we're having to open up a company like Canada First, where we need that fortification and we need to start thinking of prevention and safety in every single home and business, because crime is just getting out of control. And we see it on the news every day.
100%. I couldn't agree more. And I often think about, to your point there, when you used to go over, you'd be in somebody's neighborhood and you just stop by, swing by somebody's home, ring the doorbell. Yeah, that doesn't happen anymore.
Yeah.
It's much different now, right?
Yeah.
You got to call when you're there to give them the kind of heads up, just because things have changed. People are worried. The safety, the home invasions, which we're going to talk a lot about today, has just been on such an increase. And I think that's where Canada First comes in and provides that sense of relief. Yeah. We're at a time now, Chad, where I think that when somebody purchases a home, oftentimes you think, how old is the AC unit? How old is the, you want to know about things in the home. Yeah. I think we're at the stage now, brother, and tell me if you agree, that we need to know, what is the fortification of the home like? What are your windows secured? Is your door secured? What is the door? Because it's something that people need to take into account now when they're homeowners.
Yeah, absolutely. And our company is actually in talks and dealing with home builders and starting to make that change, which is a horrible thing that we have to sit back and say, this is what we're doing now in Canada.
Yeah.
Right. It was never like that. I never thought we would get to this point. But yet here we are talking to the builders and saying, this is what we need to do as part of the infrastructure of the home, is to fortify it and make sure that it's safe. And I know we're going to get into, the things that our company does later on, but yeah, no, I mean, I'll give you a little background on me. I have over 20 years of policing security experience, and I've dealt with hundreds of investigations in vehicle theft, B&Es, home invasions, robberies. I did interview interrogation, dealt with a lot of the gangs and stuff. And, I just have obviously a different view of the world and things for years ago, because when you get to see the dark side of the city, or you get to see the dark side of crime, or what happens when people are sleeping, it gives you a different view of what's really happening. And then you see the escalation and a lot of the reasons why these things get escalated. And it is not just one or two things. It's so many things that account to that, right? So That's just a little bit about my background, and that I was able to sit and doing these interview interrogations and talk to the criminals and find out what they think, what they look for. And that's what brought me into Canada first was, what are the weak points of your business or home, and what are criminals actually looking for? When they're looking for a quick snatch and grab, or they're looking for a stakeout, or they're looking for targeting your house specifically, what are the things that you might not be aware of that the criminals are aware of? And that's what I bring to the table with the company. And yeah, we'll get into that later, but that's just a little bit about me and why you invited me here today.
100%. And man, I think that's going to be some of the most valuable information that people can take away from this conversation is these areas of vulnerabilities and how to keep themselves safe. But sticking on you a little bit, have just quickly here, have you always been passionate about crime and safety? Is that something that's always been a part of you?
I think it was actually a little bit of, I've always been into fitness, and I've been into like not wanting to go to one specific building or an office to go to work.
Okay.
So I was like, well, I like being fit. I like helping people, right? That was always a thing. So I originally went into physio.
Oh,
That was
nice.
my thing, and that was
And so
that was pushed into me just through being into fitness and being into wanting to help people. And I was, I played hockey and lacrosse, and I played baseball. Like, I was a sports guy, so that's like sports medicine, right? So it was kind of like that's where I was going, but it didn't feel like my direction. And so anyway, just kind of a fluke. It was like, hey, let's take some tests and play around with this whole
Oh,
thing.
so that's how it kind of happened.
Yeah, I never had an aspiration. And actually, my buddies, when I was a teenager, if you said I was going to be a cop one day, they'd probably laugh hysterically, right? But that's what life does, right? You plan things and they just don't go according to plan, but not for the bad. I mean, that does happen, but sometimes you just take those open doors and it takes you in the direction. And obviously, all of the people I've met, the help that I feel I've been able to give to families,
For sure.
and what people remember me by, and obviously the good relationships I've been able to make through policing and through obviously Canada First has been so rewarding. And I mean, here I'm sitting here doing this great podcast, and I literally look back every few years and I go, wow, like all of these things that I never thought I'd be able to do, I've been able to do, and it's been such a blessing for me. And
that's awesome.
yeah.
Dude, I feel like guys like that are just, focused on themselves, focused on improving their physical body, mental body. They make some of the greatest cops, even though it fell onto your lap, so to speak, like where he led you in that direction through fitness, which is a beautiful avenue, by the way.
Yeah.
They make some of the greatest cops, the greatest guys. And then later on, you got into to investigating and interrogating. Just quickly here, in the mind of a criminal, what has that experience sort of taught you now to teach you about the criminals and how they operate?
Well, first I learned very early that a lot of them are dumb.
That is exactly.
Yeah, they make such stupid mistakes, and
Small percentage are actually like the criminal masters.
Yes, and usually those are the ones that are hard to reach, right? I mean, the dummies that they're getting to do the actual crimes, but when you're young and you're starting to do this, you're sitting in a room and you're one-on-one with either a big criminal, small criminal, but then you just start to realize, like, why did you not think of doing it this way, right? Because as a cop, you have to think as a criminal, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's how you manage them, right? So you sit there and go, why didn't you do this? But the education you get from doing that and just asking them, once they either admit to the crime or you're trying to talk them, into step by step what happened, really get that information from them as to what their psyche is when they're casing a house, casing a car, when they're trying to commit a crime in a different city and move on, whatever then that education just sticks with you, right? And the stories that you get, because you're looking at them right in the eye and you're able to see what their mindset was. And this is where you get into all of the different types of criminals, right? And this is where the change and all of the reasons why we're here today is, I think you get some from different, economical backgrounds,
Sure.
right? Some of them aren't necessarily like bad people, but they just took into this life of crime because I need to make ends meet, and they didn't find another way. And then you've got the drug side of things where it's easy accessible, and I need cash for drugs now, so they're quick snatch and grabs. And then you've obviously got the organized crime where then you're dealing with, the smarter side of things where it's planned, right? So all of these type of people I was able to sit across the table from and talk to and interrogate and build relationships with. You do have to build relationships in policing with bad people because you need information and you need that education, right? So through the years, you just gain that intel and you gain the smarts and the street smarts. And I think you have a little bit of that when you come into policing, right? That's what kind of pushes you in.
For sure.
Like, yeah, I know what these guys are operating on, and then we always call it your spidey senses.
Yes.
You get like, this guy's, not telling
Something's going on here,
right? Yeah, and then and then it's all a lot of games, right? And I mean, I always remember one that I did once was, I'm going back to VHS times, but you go to the Bay or Zellers or whatever it was back in the day, and
yes,
someone causes a theft, and there was different thefts in the neighborhood or whatever, so you would be like, well, there's been a rash with these thefts at different stores, and I stack up a whole tray of these VHS tapes, right? And I'd be like, let me see one here. And you grab one from the middle, which is the only one you really have. And you're like, let me just show you here. And then you watch this himself and you go, see? And I've got all your other robberies that you committed, right? And this is just where you're kind of like, like, oh, you got me.
Little mind games.
So, yeah, so I will tell you about them all. You're going to make me sit here and play all of these video tapes, or are you just going to tell me the truth, right? And then sure enough, it's like, I'll tell you the truth, man.
Yeah.
Like, okay. And then, sometimes you do get a chuckle occasionally, I have to leave the room and have a laugh. And then come back in and be more serious faced, but you have to enjoy your job, right? And I did. I always enjoyed my job and enjoyed the people I worked with, and it was a great time, and it's brought me into this world, which is great.
If someone was to break into my house, honestly, I wouldn't know what to do. That's something I hear often, and my response, well, don't let them break in. I'm Chad, former RCMP. Did you know that there's an average of 6 home invasions in the Greater Toronto Area daily? At Canada First, we deliver a home defense audit. We find your weak points and we show you how to prevent break-ins. We are here to fortify your home and stop intruders before they even try. Protect your home and what matters most with Canada First. Book your free home defense audit now.
That's amazing now that you get all that information, all that experience, that education, that experience with these criminals, and now apply it to as a chief defense officer for Canada First. Very useful. And I think for the person listening, it just shows the value that the company brings in. It's very important.
Yeah.
Now, just touching on policing today, lastly, what are your thoughts? Are people still interested in becoming police officers? Because I know crime is rising so much and we need them.
Yeah.
What is your take on it? Are you still surrounded with the community? Are people still interested in becoming police officers?
There are people interested. There are a few negatives now. I mean, if you applied to policing in the 90s, early 2000s, I mean, you're making 6 figures, right? Money went a lot farther in those days. So there is the financial aspect where people thought, look, I got benefits. I'm going to have a pension. I'm going to make 6 figures a year, and this can afford a house that was $250,000, right? I mean, but now you fast forward, at the end of your career, say in 25 years, 30 years, and now inflation, right? The cost of houses are $2 million, right? So now the actual income of a police officer is not very good.
It didn't match up with the increase?
Doesn't match up, right?
Okay.
So now you've got to take the risk of the job versus the pay, right? In the private sector, there's so much more money. And if you're, a driven, smart, fit, whatever, the opportunities I think that are available now because of the internet and because of, your abilities, I think a lot of those people, especially with university degrees and stuff, they have that ability to go elsewhere and make more money. They're not going to take all of their education and skill and go, you know what, I'm going to stick that into first response now. They want to do something else. So that definitely brings the numbers down. And I know some of the stats, I can't remember exactly, but there used to be hundreds of applicants that would apply to different police services, a month, say. I mean, and now you're getting 30, 60, right? Like, because it's not, and then it's the length of the process, right? Like, it's a long process. You're not guaranteed a job. And at the end of the day, what am I going to make? 120 grand, right? Not considering over, but then it's the risk of it all too.
Yes.
Pressuring, like everything's on camera, and there's nothing wrong with, things being on camera, but we all know sitting back when a situation happens, you've got the, armchair quarterbacks that are sitting there, or you have the left side and the right side viewing the situation from a different perspective, and you're in the hot seat right now. You've got your career, your family, your house that's at stake, and it's stressful, right? I mean, if you go to a job and just go to an office and go home, you don't have to deal with the fact that I might get into a very severe incident today, or get in a car accident, or might cause injury to myself or others. Like, these are all the things that play a factor into that job, right? So, so I definitely think the numbers are down. I definitely think that it's not a career that most people want to get into anymore. And that's a problem.
Yeah,
because then we're not getting the really good people that we need in those positions to be a leader and be an example that we need.
100%. And you bring up a good point with the financial matching of it. It didn't follow suit as everything else raised. It's interesting because 2-3 years ago, the whole public was calling for everybody to defund the police. Meanwhile, here's a former police officer telling us that modern day, they're not getting enough money for what they do. They're the people that are running into buildings while everybody's running out. Yeah. It's a very honorable job, and I think they should be compensated for it. Yeah. And unfortunately, the public is always trying to demonize them and hold them accountable for things and putting them in the hot seat. It makes it a little bit difficult for young people coming up to want to get in that career.
And right now I've got all the first responders going, yeah, right, and all the unions going, hey,
yeah, exactly. and fair enough. Yeah. It's a complicated subject, but the crime is rising. Yeah, and we need police officers in order to match that. You get reports of, I called the first responders and the police, and I didn't get somebody here 20 minutes, 30 minutes till after the incident happened. Yeah, these are the concerns that Canadians have. So that's the reason why I wanted to ask you and get your opinion on it. Is just, the crime is rising. Like and this is where we can kind of talk about crime on all fronts. On why the crimes are rising in Toronto, there's been a 50% increase in home invasions. Home invasions are a very significant problem in the GTA and the country of Canada. Yep. So it's something we're going to focus on today. But just to sort of open up the conversation, why do you think there's been such a rise in crime?
Well, I always relate a little bit to like real estate. Okay, like things that happen, interest rates go up, down, whatever happens, you don't see the effect in 3 months, right? Sometimes it's 3 years, 5 years, you don't see the effect. And I think a lot of this too started with the COVID pandemic, right? Where you have businesses that were closed, you have the courthouses being overwhelmed, crime's still happening, right? And even more so because people now have idle hands and they have nothing to do.
That's true.
And then you get the criminals that are looking for opportunity, where they're like, okay, great, there's businesses that are closed that have value and we can get in there. So more crimes happening, but yet your hands are tied, right? So now the court system gets filled up. Now you look fast forwarding now, and you've got, the court system totally overwhelmed. You have police services that are understaffed. And you can look at I would say, we'd have 12, 15 cars for like a city of 120,000 that would go out. But then you start adding, people that are on vacation, people that are on stress leave, people that are on, sick. Now you start having you have 8 cars when maybe you should have 15 cars out. And now they have to deal with the whole city. You can't.
It's a lot to cover.
And a lot of people, it's 50-50 as far as overtime. But you now have less cops on the street. You're getting more calls now than ever. So what happens is now you have more major crimes, that you don't have time to investigate, right? Because you just don't have it. You don't have the resources. You don't have the ability to do it. So you now have to pass on, when I was in policing, I remember you'd get hey, my neighbor took my, hockey stick, whatever, right? And you're like, okay, well, you guys got to figure this out. We're not wasting a lot of time on this now, right? But now you've got some major theft or major things that are happening, property crime stuff that's look, we can't deal with it, right? Even stolen cars now, we're not chasing it. We're not dealing with these because we have other things backlogged so far that we have to deal with. And you just don't have the time or resources, or you'll be in. The problem is now the court system gets so backed up that you can't go to a court case 3 years from now that you investigated because now the time has lapsed, and this is happening. And now they have to let them go because it's taken too long, right? Because you have a timeline that you have to follow within the court system, or else it just falls off. And recently the court system has developed a plan for that, where they can move those cases into quick resolution and try to get them solved, because before they were just running off the table and, the treadmill was just going. So, that's one of the reasons why crime is up too, because when you get caught and then you go through the system the first time and you realize, oh, well, I just got off because it took me so long to get there.
Yeah.
Or they're not even going to investigate this and they're just letting me go. Right. So those are all the factors. And obviously we get into, Bill C-75, which is that quick catch and release.
Yes.
And, now you're not holding anybody. So the criminal just gets same day, see you later. And the next day is creating another crime. And then it just snowballs. Right.
100%.
And so that's what's happening is since COVID and we started feeling that wave, it's now so jam-packed and so busy that where do we go from here? It's almost like burn it to the ground and start over.
I know, and you mentioned an interesting one there. To hear stories where people's cars are getting stolen, and the police are forced to say we just write an incident report or something. We can't really do anything about it. For the people listening, it's not the police's fault, and that they, like you just beautifully articulated, they don't have the resources to be able to keep up with the increase in crime. And you mentioned another amazing point, which is Bill C-75, which most Canadians don't actually know what that even is.
Right.
And if they want to know what it is, they should look it up because it allows criminals to get out at the soonest point of opportunity.
Right.
And that is why we're seeing continuous repeat violent offenders committing crimes over and over and over again.
Yeah. And I mean, and you can even do things if you start talking organized crime, you can say we've got Bill, Paul, and Ted. Okay, Ted, you're going to steal cars, you're going to do home invasions, and you're going to do, some type of extortion or whatever, right? And then once they get caught, okay, switch, right? And then, I mean, the next day they're doing the same thing. They know the system, they know how it works. And then you get into young offenders where there's absolutely no penalties for that at all. And then you get the gangs, even this is even back, in my day, it was, you're getting 17, 16-year-olds doing the killings, or you're getting them to do the heavy lifting, because you can't tell a kid, hey, if you steal a car, we'll give you 10 grand. And if you get caught, nothing's going to happen. And then say, you need to give up that life and go work at McDonald's. They're just like, oh, get out of here. And I mean, I've had those conversations, right? They've got, fake firearms in their belt where they're going to end up getting themselves killed. And they don't understand the risk, because when you're young, you can live forever. Right, you're just invincible, and
you don't understand consequences.
Yeah, and you're a hero to your buddies, and you're rolling in dough, and the girls like you, and you got the party. Like I've dealt with them all
for sure,
and they're from good families. It's just like you're hanging out with your buddies, you're on the street, they're recruited very easily because it's a good time and it's fun, right? And there was no consequences.
It's fast money,
right? And I mean, and that's gotten even worse now because we've. In Canada, we have a huge flux of immigration.
Yeah.
And because of that, obviously, it gets leaked and we end up with a lot of criminals that come over. And now they have their own organized crime that they're working with that create all of these other issues. And then you've got them fighting over territory. And then, and that's where it's like never just one issue that's causing or two. It's like 10, 20 different issues.
It's a multitude of things that are happening. You highlighted some good things, Bill C-75, the courts, COVID, these types of things. And the other thing you mentioned was Youth Criminal Justice Act. Let's talk about that for just 1 second. I never thought about mentioning that, but it's very important because you look at these videos online of these home invasions and these people breaking into homes, and who are they? They're young kids.
I think it's in 12-year-olds.
Yeah, that's right. They're just the other day, there was a murder of a 12-year-old in Vaughan, I think it was.
Yeah.
By the way, we'll talk about Vaughan. Lots been happening in Vaughan. That's my neck of the woods.
Okay.
And it's unbelievable what's happening there. So we need home fortification there for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But the Youth Criminal Justice Act, do you think that it needs to be revisited?
100%. And I think, we're 25 years ago it needed to be revisited because it was literally almost a waste of time because you could deal with these young gangbangers and you already know that it's going nowhere. And I'm going to have to spend, the next 10 hours dealing with this where I know where the real criminals need to go. And I can't deal with these guys because I got to deal with these kids. But even though I know it's not going anywhere, it's just the way the system works. And you're stuck in that cycle of, the arrogance of them too, right? Because they know
No.
they're just like, sure, arrest me. I'll be out tomorrow.
That's terrible.
Or, I'll be, I'll call my parents. They'll come and get me, right? I mean, I always used to laugh because I'd say there was always two types of parents, right? There was the one where you can show them the video and say, see his face, red hat, blue jeans, white shirt, and they would still go, that's not my kid, right? And I would always say to them, I'd be like, well, you know what? I will see you again because he's not going to learn anything and this is going to be repetitive for him. And then you have the other parents that would tell you, excuse me, would you mind looking the other way? And then they would just beat them down the hallway all the way to the car. And I would say, I will never see them again.
Yeah.
Right. Because that's, that's
the accountability is enforced by their parents.
That's right.
We need to bring them back Scared Straight. Do you remember that show?
Yeah. And I was just having a conversation with someone about, and I think would work well, is the fact that if your kids get themselves in trouble, then you go after the parents. Because the parents have literally no accountability and they don't care and they're fine with them just running around the streets doing whatever. And I mean, you're going to get a free lawyer. You're going to get everything paid for. Like there is no repercussion for the parent to let their kids just be animals.
I would agree, man.
Yeah. So I said, man, if you started saying, if your kid gets caught for theft, then you're going to jail. I'm pretty sure the parents would wonder where their kids are and what's going on and make sure that they're, a little more straight and narrow.
Yeah. There's a funny joke by Sebastian Maniscalco, a Italian comedian. He talks about this and he talks about like some high school shooters and then how they uncovered like a bunch of ammunition in the kid's room and these machine guns. And he's a young kid. Yeah. And he's like, how does that happen? Like, where are the parents? Like, I can't, how do you have a bazooka in your room and your mom doesn't know about it? Right. Like, what's going on here? So there's interesting questions to be ran through there. Mm-hmm. But I want to ask, for Youth Criminal Justice Act, maybe just for everybody to understand on layman's terms, how old do you have to be eligible? And then what exactly does it do in protecting criminals?
I mean, it works differently in different parts of Canada. It's like under 18. Right? It's just anyone under the age of 18 that you need to deal with. And it has just different stipulations. I mean, it's changed a bit now, even since I was on the road doing that type of policing, but it basically is, counseling, community service, and these are for higher type crimes, right? A lot of times I would say 90% of the time it's a slap on the wrist, you're not going to get a fine or anything. And it's just to teach them that now you're going in the system. And then once you're 18, it's erased, it's gone. You're free and clear. And it does
protect your identity too. Your name not shared.
Yeah, that's right. So you could be, living next to, the biggest car theft, child around, and you wouldn't even know it. So I mean, those are things too. Like they should be exposed or expose the parents. Like I said, like do something where you have the ability to say this is who they are and what they're doing because they're becoming more brazen and the organized crime they use them, right?
For sure. They're exploiting the system.
100%. And I mean, and they want to, like, it's not like these kids are doing it. They love it. I mean, it's in Grand Theft Auto. They're playing the games. They're watching the videos. They're watching the movies. They're being left alone. And, it starts small. You steal something at the mall, right? And then it's like, oh, I got a rush. That was fun. Right. Yeah. And then you're a hero. And then it becomes something larger. And then next thing you know, you're shaking somebody down for some cash, right? Or whatever. And then it just, and it just gets in bigger and bigger. And then once you get caught, then you realize, man, even if I get caught, nothing happens. And my parents don't even care. So I'm just going to keep making money. And
no one's holding them accountable. They're getting fast money. And like you said, they're getting the glory and fame from their circle. And they're the ones committing these home invasions. I would say a large amount of the home invasions and the increase is from young kids under the age of 18. And Chad, a lot of them have weapons on them too, man.
Yeah.
They got guns.
Yeah.
And that leads us to a whole other conversation. Before we get into that home invasion stuff, let's stick on a little bit about this. I want to talk about awareness now.
Okay.
So do you think the media is doing a good job in identifying what is exactly going on and then telling the Canadian citizen these home invasions are in the increase, the crime is so high? Are they doing a good job at covering the increase in crime?
Yes. They're doing a good job. Oh, no. Oh, you mean covering? I mean, covering up.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Wait, is that covering it?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, because I mean, I don't watch a lot of the news anymore for that reason. Because
fair enough.
It's, you see the local news media is saying like, oh, this happened, however, stats are down, or they're trying to bring it always down to things are getting better, don't worry about it. And you're like, wait, what do you like? Is anyone believing this?
Chad,
Like,
sometimes in my comments when I have these conversations, I see people put crime is actually down right now. What world are you living in?
Yeah.
Just the things that we see from people's Ring cameras and stuff, we can obviously see, and the stories of people that they know, it's up. It's up on all fronts, 50%, like I said, in Toronto.
Yeah.
It is up. And then you get this misinformation that it's going down. And I agree.
And it's weird because you can literally watch a news broadcast.
Yeah.
And then you can literally go research yourself and you're going to find something totally different. And I think it's just, if you say something enough, right, then people just start to believe it. So as long as you're creating the same narrative and it's all coming at everyone the same way, they're like, oh, crime was always like this. It's just we are more aware of it now because of the internet. It's all these type of things that, we have phones and different apps and, so we just see it more, whereas before it was all happening. And I'm sure it was happening, but people were put in jail. There were consequences.
Yes.
And you wouldn't see another break-in in your neighborhood for another 10 years.
It was rare.
Right. Yeah. And I mean, now, I've gone out in the street with our company, with our sales guys and stuff, and you talk, and I mean, I don't go out all the time, but neighborhoods I've gone out, it's like, oh yeah, just down around the corner, there's a break-in last night. Oh, a week ago, they just broke into it, or my place was just broken into. I'm glad you guys are here. It's crazy. Like when you're out there and you're talking to them and people are just like, what is going on? Like there is absolutely no fear for these criminals to go out and just do this. And obviously there's a whole bunch of different types of people and reasons why break-in enters happen. But the news is definitely putting a blanket over it all and making it seem like we're still the country we were 20 years ago. And that's definitely not the case.
That is 100% correct. And I wish there was more accountability on the media. Unfortunately, there isn't. But conversations like this is what kind of spurs that and gets people to pay attention. And for anybody who thinks crime is down, I urge them to go to their local police website. It has the statistics and you can see the increase. I know in York region and Toronto, they have these crime maps.
Yep.
It looks like your screen has chicken pox.
Yeah.
There's so much freaking dots.
Yeah.
Violent assault, armed robbery, whatever, you name it.
Yeah. You start zooming out and you can't see the city.
See this
right? Yeah.
That is right. You zoom all the way out, and it's just covered in these colors. It looks like your screen has chicken pox. It's insane. So it's there for people if they want to go and see. But the crime is increasing.
Yeah.
How much do you think politics has to play with it? I know we discussed it a little bit, but how important is it that we stay involved with politics and stay engaged, because it does have an effect? Do you think it has an effect? What are your thoughts on it?
I definitely think it does, because we still have the Liberal government.
Yeah, there you go.
Right?
You said it.
If we
100%.
if people were aware of what's happening and we're educated on the stats and we're educated on what crimes are growing and the harm it's causing us as a country as a whole, from financial to psychological, we wouldn't have this government here anymore. Right. And if they understood Bill C-75,
for sure,
they would have stopped it right after that, because what's happened because of the Liberal Party putting that into place has caused, it's like, and I always say it's like a freight train, right? It's moving so fast and you got to try to stop it. And even if you can slow it down, it's going to take us time to slow it, stop it, and try to reverse it. Right. And, and this is why, we're talking politics. It's, Pierre Polyev talking about the Castle Law and bringing in, because I'm looking at this, I almost thought it was one of those AI memes, because I'm like, here we are in Canada having to talk about a homeowner having the ability to protect themselves. Yeah. You've got chiefs of police saying, you know what, just comply, just let them take what they want. In Canada First, our first conversations with the company started when they said, put your keys on the porch. Oh, right. I mean, who
remember that?
Yeah. Then that was the conversation that sparked. What do we do? Like, what do we do to help educate Canadians on what's happening and protect each and every home to make sure that they can keep their family and their property safe? Because you start that trend of telling people just give your stuff away or leave your stuff on the porch. What do you leave? Your Rolex? Your wife gets home from whatever, take her, her necklace and her jewels off and leave them on the porch. Just let people go by like it's just Halloween. I mean, this is what you're teaching people, instead of saying, you have the power to protect your home and your property. And I definitely think that there needs to be an amendment in there. And there's always been a place in the criminal code for that. But what happens is that because of politics, because of different cases that have been involved, it starts to get skewed, and lawyers start to play, this is what the law means, and this is what the law means. So to have the amendment to say that you are automatically have that, assumption of ability to protect yourself and your family, it allows the police not to arrest you for causing harm,
which we've seen,
which we have seen more than we should. And it honestly, I feel like I live in an upside down world sometimes.
Yeah,
because we're doing that.
It's so unfortunate. Like you talked about, even the chief of police, York Regional Police, talking about just comply with the criminals. Mm-hmm. I get what he's trying to do is like, don't engage. Dude, what kind of messaging is that to the public? Yeah. And what kind of messaging is that to criminals? Yeah. Imagine being a criminal who just committed a home invasion the night before, and then you go on the day after and you see the York Regional Police telling the citizens, tax-paying, law-abiding Canadian citizens, to comply with you because you're a criminal and you get to do whatever you want, run free on these decent, honest people. Yeah. What the heck is going on?
Yeah, and I mean, people come to me and ask me, what should I do? What is the best thing to do? And of course, it's always, if you have an exit strategy and you don't have to engage with these criminals, I mean, nobody wants to try to fight off 5 to 7 guys that run into your house, right? I mean, you're going to, if you got to protect yourself, but and that's where I think it's like you want to have the ability and a plan to say, this is what we're going to do as a family if this should arise, right? And have something, because if you mentally aren't prepared for that, it comes at you so fast. But the chief of police to say, hey, we're going to give the criminals more confidence. Yeah, say that we're on their side and we're going to protect them, instead of saying, look, if you go into a house and something goes awry and you get hurt, well, it's on you. Because it's not only you could be innocent, right? Like someone breaks into your house, say you had to use a bat or a firearm or anything, they arrest you for whatever charge that they want to bring forth to bring to the court system, because the police don't want to make a decision on the spot.
Right.
You now have to hire a lawyer. Yep. You might have to sell your house, right? You now have relationship issues because of finances, plus court. This is going to drag on for, could be years. And you most likely won't be convicted, but you still have that stress and pressure, and no one's going to give you that money back. You're going to be in the paper, like your name's going to be spread all over the news, and that doesn't need to happen. And I think in policing, for me, what happened from when I was on the road to now, and what I think is happening is, I could go to a call, I could look at whatever the situation is and say, hey, you're a liar, go sit down and shut up. This is what we're going to do here. And this isn't going, no one's like, somebody might get arrested, someone might not get arrested, but I can make that call based on my experience and my smarts, and to know that, this isn't a crime that needs to be dealt with this way.
Yeah.
And one, you're alleviating the court system, you're fixing the problem on the spot, and you can just move on. Now it's like they show up, everyone goes to court, we put it through the system, lawyers make money, the whole system makes money, and there is no repercussion to, you're found 3 years later, you're found innocent. They don't pay you back. They don't do anything to help you and your family get back together, or all the stressors that you had to deal with. We've seen them. We've seen someone breaks into your house, someone's in your daughter's bedroom, and you beat the hell out of them, rightly so. And now you're excessive force, and now you got to go through the system.
You're getting charged along with the criminal. Yeah, we've seen that so much just recently. So many situations have unfolded in Canada where the criminals are breaking into the homes, and then the homeowner is defending their home and property, and then they're both getting arrested. Mm-hmm. It's unfortunate. The self-defense laws, which I want to talk to you about now, need to be more clear. They need to be completely clear as to what's happening. That's why I think these conversations are sparking the politicians to pivot and make decisions based on the public opinion, which happens to be, we have the right to defend ourselves, castle law doctrine, which you mentioned, Pierre Poilievre wants to introduce, which is amazing to see that transition. But there has been so much discussion with self-defense laws in Canada. I believe The Sun recently posted an article in their newspaper that Canadians do have the right to defend themselves, and castle law already exists in Canada. This is the first I've ever heard of that ever. Now, these conversations have been ongoing. I've been seeing people online talking about, oh, you have the right to defend yourself. There's that situation in Milton where he got arrested and he got off. But just as you beautifully articulated, what happens is what people don't see. That guy had to remortgage his house to pay for legal fees, over $200,000 in legal fees for something that he didn't even ask for. The criminal came in with a firearm. He ended up killing the criminal with his legal firearm and then got charged and then eventually got off, but it cost him thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on the self-defense laws in Canada?
Well, I definitely think they have to be clear because that's where the lawyers come in and it's all interpretation. There has definitely always been the ability to protect yourself against life or limb. I mean, the police, we use it on the road all the time, right? If you fear life or limb, right, the person has to have the ability, the intent, and the means to be able to conduct themselves and cause you bodily harm, right? And that's where the definition of all that comes into play.
Right.
Did they have the ability to do what they were doing? You know, did they have the means to do it? And then did they have the intent?
That's
Right.
that's problematic too.
Right. And you have to be able to prove that.
Yes.
Right. So, and that's when you sit back after the situation. But the problem is, you know, and I've discussed this a little bit on my Wednesday night Instagram that I do, is you have to sit there and prove what you did where you had to make a decision in a split second, right? So most, I don't know, reasonably, reasonable person that can sit back and say, I know if someone's coming at me with a threat, right? So if I act out, you know, now I have to fear, oh, what's going to happen to me? Am I going to get in trouble now? The police on the road are actually second guessing using force in different forms because, well, what's going to happen? Am I going to get an internal investigation?
That cost him their life.
100%. Not only there, like mine. If I'm in a situation where I need to call someone or someone calls for me, I don't want them second guessing what's going to happen. And this is what's happening in the policing world. I've talked to a lot of my good friends that are still working, and they have that psychological mindset of like, okay, I want to go today. I don't want to get involved in too much, right? I just want to go to get my job done, go home, because I don't know what could happen if something goes south.
Yes.
I mean, and a lot of the guys that I know that are still on the road that are my friends, they're very smart. They're very, you know, good, but they understand the climate of policing. They understand the climate of politics of it and the court system, and you don't want to be in those shoes because of the costs and the stress, and not only from a personal perspective when you're not working, but even when you're on the road. And if we're living in a country where the police cannot use force necessary comfortably and know that they're superiors and, you know, and the system has their back, I mean, we're in a dangerous place.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more, and it's well said. But the self-defense laws need to be crystal clear for Canadians. Like you just articulated, it's to match that force that criminal is bringing. But let's lay that out for a second. Middle of the night, boom, 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 3 a.m., you roll out of bed, your family, your kids. What is going on? You run downstairs, 3 criminals are in front of you. Oh my God, what do they have? I need to assess this situation now in the middle of the night while I'm worried about my family's safety, my safety, and then match their force reasonably.
Right.
Listen, somebody comes into your home, you should be able to protect them at any means cost. That's clear. That's the way we should be going.
Agreed.
Not match them in a reasonable fashion.
Right.
It's very difficult to be able to interpret that situation that late.
Oh, 100%. I mean, we even get to the point where now if you have a baseball bat or something that could be used as a weapon, well, you had that place there to use as a weapon. The intent was for you to use that as a weapon. It wasn't your home run hitting, you know, a bat from, you know, your little league from, you know, 2009. Yeah. And this is where all the nonsense comes into play. And this is where now you are going to be arrested for using excessive force. And, you know, and then that's where all the focus goes. Nobody's paying attention to who the criminal was, how they orchestrated this, what they took, how you were injured. It's let's focus on the homeowner. Let's focus on what he did wrong here. And it's wrong. I mean, this is why we're just getting worse. And sometimes you just feel, you know, it needs to burn to the ground and start over because we've just gotten so far down that train track that we need to just rebuild.
Burn it down, start again.
Yeah.
And like you said earlier, like politics matters. Mm-hmm. And unfortunately for the people listening, the people that we have to hold responsible is the Liberal government. They've been in power since 2015 under Justin Trudeau and now Mark Carney. And the legislations that they have put through have single-handedly cost this increase in crime that we've seen in Canada with Bill C-75, Bill C-5, other policies, and one that I want to mention now is Bill C-21, which is the attack on the legal tax-paying Canadian citizen who's a gun owner. So let's talk about that just quickly before we get into home fortification. What are your thoughts on just the complete hypocrisy? You get criminals that have illegal firearms that are committing crimes, that are going through the jails like a revolving door, they're fine. Instead of increasing the penalties on them and making it more strict and difficult to commit crimes, what does the Liberal government do? They put through Bill C-21, which actually goes after the legal gun owner, the tax-paying legal gun owner, and is making them enroll in a mandatory buyback program, making it more difficult for them to buy firearms. The list goes on and on. What do you take from this, the complete hypocrisy from something like this?
I mean, I'm a legal firearms owner.
So am I.
And I know that most people have had training. They're responsible. This is always the tactic. All right. And I even know, like, it's, the Charlie Kirk incident. As soon as that happened, literally a news broadcaster right off the hop was like, gun control. Right.
Such a good point.
So they go off that. There's never not going to be firearms in the criminals' hands. And this is the part that they don't understand. There's always, living on a border town, we understand, like, between Canada and the US, that illegal firearms are crossing the border constantly. You can make your own firearms now.
Yeah.
People have those laser
3D printers,
3D printer machines that are making them. That's always going to be the case. So when you constantly are making laws and bills that are forcing the homeowner not to be able to protect themselves, that also is one of those many things we're talking about that allows crime to rise. If you put a law and it said every home had to have a firearm, you would see crime drop pretty quickly.
I would bet anything on that.
Right. And this is why we're back. Why does there have to be a discussion about the Castle Law? Why is there anyone even sitting at the table on the other side going, no, I don't think a homeowner should be able to protect their home or family? Like, who's having that? Who is the person that is sitting there having that discussion?
The Liberal side of politics, unfortunately, it's them.
Right.
And this is where Canadians get, but they do what you said earlier. They put this word salad together and they go, well, you do have the right to defend yourself, and they focus on that. But the reality is you have the right to defend yourself. But you have to beat this criteria here that you're never going to be able to do, etc.
Right.
And we know for sure we don't have the right to bear arms in a protective fashion.
Right.
Justin Trudeau said that clearly.
And I think most of us saw the video of, I don't know what his label is. He was in charge of the firearms, department.
This public safety minister.
Yeah, the public safety. Yeah, thanks. Public safety minister,
Yeah.
and he couldn't answer anything about the firearms testing. Anything. It was almost
laughable.
It felt like it was some sort of Saturday Night Live skit, right? It literally did, and
it's true.
And I don't know how. And being in government work, you do see that there is a lot of hypocrisy in the people that get these positions that have never had any experience, right? So you don't understand that the legal firearm owners are the responsible, the ones that are the one keeping things safe, whereas the criminals will always have them. You're never going to get rid of them, ever. And so this is just trying to keep the Liberal ploy of, we need to disarm the public. We have to make sure that they're helpless, because, you cannot control a population that has the ability to protect themselves.
That is exactly right. And it's well said. I think Sammy the Bull Gravano said this, and it's to your point there. He said, the criminals will always have a firearm. You just won't.
That's right.
And that is the scariest part, because like you beautifully said, they know this.
Yeah.
They know that the self-defense laws are vague in Canada, that there's Bill C-75 that they can continue to get out. They know that Canadians, through with bills like Bill C-21, that Canadians don't have the right to protect themselves with their firearms in their own homes. Yeah. Criminals know this.
Yeah.
They're dumb, but they're getting smarter with the fact of their understanding where they can exploit.
And a lot of these things happen without people's knowledge, because you also have to remember that it's easy to put these into place and do this because we're also busy.
Yeah.
The world is busy. Everyone's busy. They have their own bubble, right? You've got your kids in the events. Not many people are paying. Who's really saying, I'm going to go home and watch some Parliament tonight. I'm going to see what's going on and what bills are coming out. Nobody knows until it's there.
Yes, that's
right.
True.
And
most people,
right, when they're being written and things are happening and it's going through all those stages for maybe a couple of years, nobody has a clue until it's all of a sudden on your doorstep and it's being changed. And now you have to play catch up and go, okay, well, we don't want this. And now we have to sign surveys and we've got to get out there and change it and do it. And then this is, the part of where it's nice when the public is busy and they don't know what's happening and they're not, and obviously the media is telling them something different. So if they do catch, something in the coffee shop or wherever they are, they think, oh, okay, then it's not so bad. Right. And you just get that false sense of security. But this is where you actually need to be aware. And that's why it's great that you're doing a great podcast and doing stuff like this to educate people, say, listen to this. This is what's really happening out there. And this is what you need to research on your own.
Yeah.
Right?
I've increasingly become more passionate about it because I've seen it unfold in real time. And I didn't know about Bill C-75 when it was going through, but I know about it now because people are getting their cars stolen.
Mm-hmm.
People are getting murdered in front of their kids.
Yeah.
Home invasions are significantly up.
Yeah.
That's why we know about these things now. And it's unfortunately a little bit too late, but it's important to stay politically engaged for that reason.
And I've been lucky with Canada First doing like a lot of the stuff with the face, right? I do the home shows and you get people coming by our booth. I've had people drive 2 hours to come to my booth and talk to me and have a conversation. And I love that.
Yeah.
But it really gives me, because we do them like Milton, Oakville, Hamilton, like we're all of Niagara. So it gives me a good scope of, because the home shows is bringing in, they're not there for that particular reason to talk politics. They're there looking for, someone to do their basement or, something like that. But then they come over like, well, what do you guys got going on?
Fortification.
Then you have a good conversation about what they feel the temperature of the country is and what's going on and what they believe. And I definitely feel from my own personal experience that most Canadians are fed up.
Yeah.
Most Canadians are starving for that education as to why, like you said, they don't know about Bill C-75. They don't know what's been happening. They don't know why. They just see it happening, but don't know why. Yeah. And they have all of the examples of it just happened in my neighborhood. And I've literally had them stand there and go, it just happened to me.
Yeah.
Right. And it's scary when you have that many people that I'm in contact with that are saying, this is a new world and a new country we're living in, and we need to know, what do we do to help? What do we do to add change? I mean, and on the spot, I always tell them, like, look, contact your local MP. If you have a neighborhood watch, sign a survey. Like if you get 100 signatures and you can go down there and say, this is what we need change. I mean, they work for you, 100%. Right? So I would say you need to do those small things because that impacts, if everyone was doing it, it impacts huge. But if people say, who am I? What can I do? I'm just one guy in a neighborhood. I can't make change happen. I mean, look at how crazy the world is. What am I going to do? So they do nothing. And it's better to do something than nothing, right? 100%. Especially because if you care about your country, you care about your city and your community and your kids and the ability to grow up in the Canada that we grew up in, you want to be able to do at least say you did something.
For sure. And don't underestimate your voice, guys. Don't underestimate what you bring to the table. One conversation leads to two, and that multiplies over and over again. So your voice is more powerful than you think.
Yeah.
Now let's segue. Let's talk about Canada First. Let's talk about home fortification. With the home invasions increasing, Canadians are very concerned about what's going on here. Let's start on a basic foundation level before we talk about fortification. What are some pieces of advice from your experience that you can give to Canadians to just basic home safety? Is it keep the lights on when you're not home? Is it, what are some basic?
So this brings us into Canada First.
For sure.
And why we developed it.
Yep.
And I had a big part in the Safe Home 360 audit that we do. And one of the things that we wanted to do is that this is like a $750 value, but we do it for free.
Free quote, right?
It's and it's a free quote and it's a free education. So we actually do a walkthrough of your interior and exterior of your home or business. And I can tell you right now, just to back up, the people in Canada First, our salespeople, our tech people, our quality control, our management team, everybody's heart is in this business. Like we all love, right, our country. We all love the cities and the people we're working for, and every interaction that we have, you can tell when I go sit with one of our sales reps, or I go, see what the tech guys are doing when they're in these homes and talking to, our their clients.
Yeah.
They love what they do. Like I literally go to the office and you go to our morning meeting and it's such a pump up and like you feel like you can conquer the world when you're done that. Yeah. And I mean, it's a lot of young people and, sometimes you get, I guess a little bit discouraged on a lot of the youth of today that don't want to work or don't want to, don't see the world in a certain way. And then you go and you see the people that work for Canada First and how amazing they are and their work ethic. And I literally go down there. I don't go to the office often, but when I go, I literally leave like you're saying, yeah, you're just like, man, I could do anything today.
That's
right.
awesome.
Yeah, it is. And I mean, I think they bring that out whenever they go out into the public. But going back to the audit is that, I helped develop this so that way it's a free education and it allows you to, and you're talking about lighting. Every home is different. So this was the whole thing that we brought a 66-point inspection. 55 of those points you can do yourself, and we just bring those to your attention, right? And if you're handy, you can do some things that go to Home Depot, and we just say like, here, this is your particular home. These are the things that we see. And it is those weak points that I had through my career that I can say, this is what they're looking for. This is how I've dealt with a lot of break-ins, and you have this weakness, right? So it's motion lighting. Is it a fenced-in yard? Do you have weapons or things, rocks, bricks, things from projects you've had laying around the house?
That they can use to
that they could use.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's the whole package, right? A lot of people will do window security film and they do it horribly, and we wanted to make sure we do it properly. Some people do just locks. We do it all, and we do it all to say, here's the best case scenario to buy time. So when, like I said, when they said, leave your keys on the porch, and we were like, what do we do? And it was, in these situations, you need to delay, right? Most criminals will only spend a short period of time, 10, 20 seconds to try to get in. And we start seeing these on videos where they come through the door and they keep trying.
Yeah.
And they don't try long, 10 seconds. Like if I sat here for 20 seconds, it feels like a really long time.
100%.
I mean, they don't even try that long. And they can't get in. And we have examples of that now, that they run off and go somewhere else. So what we're trying to do at Canada First is, one, make your property seem less appealing and show that you have all of those necessary things that criminals are looking for to say, this one looks fortified, right? I know if back in the 90s, early 2000s, if you stuck a ADT sign in your yard, or even like, I remember as a kid, like if you saw this is a community watch neighborhood, or whatever, like people would be like, oh, we're not going into this neighborhood. I mean, now they kick the sign over, and you can show me on the news, I don't care, right? And the fact that we do so much testing at our facility for Canada First, as far as our locks and our window film and how we fortify homes, that we make sure that we know they can't get into your home or business, and you have that time. And I tell people sometimes, I go, you have so much time, you can make a coffee while you're talking to the cops, right? You have that time, and that's what we want to make sure. And the customers that have had it are sleep better at night, right? They know that when we do the testing, we're like literally like 2 seconds, I'm in, right? Like I'm in. I can break into your house faster than you can get off the couch to grab a remote control, right? Like that's how quickly it happens. And every investigation I've ever been to in a B&E or a home invasion, every person is like, I never thought it would happen to me. And even when I'm at the home shows, right, and I'm talking to people and they say, this just happened to me, or I was talking to my neighbor, happened to him, and they always say that phrase, like they never thought it would happen to them. And the thing is that we want to make sure that you have the education, and you can never be the person to say, I wish it never happened to me. Because once they break through that barrier, that's where you get into the psychological factors of, someone is now in my home that I don't want, whether it's in your bedroom or they just got in. I mean, if you go out for dinner, you come home and your window's broken, but it's, the film protected it, or you see like someone tried to boot it in and then you can see on the cameras they left, that's a much better secure feeling than your door's busted wide open.
Sure.
Someone's rooted through all your stuff, and now you're like, holy crap, like, is there anybody even in here? And I mean, and I've had those investigations too, where, they broke in and they came home and now they're hiding in a closet in the basement, and the dog's going crazy and they don't know why. And next thing you know, you're fighting for your life in your
That's
base.
terrifying.
It is terrifying. And then that's where we want to have that barrier to say, look, you don't want to deal with anything that happens behind those doors when someone gets in, right? You want to make sure that stops them at the door or the window or whatever, and they say, you know what, this is too much of a problem. I don't want to deal with this place, and move on. And a lot of times it's just sight too, right? Like we're looking for, like when they're walking by, because you have the snatch and grabs, right? The quick break and enters. Like those are the ones where people are just looking quickly, and it's like, that one looks pretty, that one looks good, right? Like, I mean, you can see the motion lights, you can see that there's some cameras up, like whatever, they're like, this person has something going on there. So that's all part of what we're trying to do, is that we deal with every aspect of home fortification that you can think of for your particular home, and we give you the best case scenario. And we get a lot of people that upsell us, like they're like, I want this too, and I want that, and it's overkill, but that's fine. I mean,
They're eager to be safe.
100%. Yeah, and we enjoy what we do, and we definitely wish 1,000% that we didn't need a company like this in Canada, but we do. And the people are starving for the information. They're starving for a way to protect themselves. And not everybody wants to have a firearm. And this is a way to be like, look, nobody wants to go hand to hand, and nobody wants to have to use any type of other weapon against a home, invader. So this is how you can keep them out. And this is what our company does. And we're very proud of what we do, and we love what we do.
For sure, man. And people never would have thought that they need to consider fortifying their home. But now, more than ever, people are really considering it. I think, like we said at the beginning of this conversation, it's going to be like, how old is the AC unit of the home? How old is this and that?
Yep.
They're going to start asking those questions, because house fortification, home fortification is very important. That first layer of defense, Chad, is so important.
Yep.
Like you said, it deters the criminal for a certain amount of time for them to give up and for the police to get there. Before, we believe you should have the right to defend yourself,
right,
of course. But that first layer of defense that you guys provide at Canada First, that's the real part. That's the part that is very important in deterring criminals. I want to talk about the false sense of security of cameras, because I think people nowadays, right, they go, I got a Ring camera. That's my security, right? I got my Beware of Dogs sign, like you said. That's my security. But it's a false sense of security. What that only allows us to do is go back and look at the crime that happens and for possible investigations, but most of the time they're covered and etc. It doesn't actually allow you to prevent or deter criminals, because they're breaking down the front door, Chad.
Yeah. No, and being in the public and talking to people, it's because that is a psychological thing of, I got cameras, I got lighting, I'm good.
Yeah.
Right. And it's like, well, we all know, as soon as you bring to their attention, well, have you seen all the Ring doorbells and the cameras on the news? Where do you think this footage is coming from? It's coming from their cameras. Yeah. It allows the homeowner, it's like alarms, right? It allows the homeowner to know what's happening, when it's happening. It gives you a notification on your phone. If you're away, you can be like, okay, something's happening at my house. I can call the police from here. And when I get home, I'm not going to walk into something dangerous, right? But it does not detour the criminals one bit, right? It's just part of the many things that create the package of fortifying and making sure that you feel safe in your home, and obviously notifying you of what's going on in your neighborhood, who's in your driveway, who's on your porch. I mean, everybody wants to know that. Yeah. If someone's breaking your basement window, or to get an alarm signal to your phone, or
you want to know that for sure.
That's great, right? And then you can look on your cameras later on and see what's going on. The other part that I find a lot of people are very unaware of is that a lot of break-ins happen during the day. Right, because you watch movies, it's always in the darkness and it's always at night, and we see that. But you have to remember that most criminals assume that people are at work, kids are at school, right? Homes are more empty. I'm not going to get into a one-on-one or a confrontation with people. So a majority of these crimes happen during the day, when realistically, if a truck pulled up down the road or whatever, and they were moving some stuff out of the house during the day, most people have the psychology of, oh, I don't know, I guess they're moving, or they're getting a new TV, or something's happening.
They're not paying attention. They're not worried.
Right, because it's not at night, and I don't hear bangs, and there's not like a lot of alarms going off. There's not a lot of attention. But that's the other part, is that when you're at work, or you're, even when you're home, we always suggest, like, keep your doors locked. I mean, this is the time we live in now. Like, when you go home and you're sitting there making your lunch, lock your door, because you want to still make sure that during the day, no one can just open your door and walk in freely, because those 5 guys are going to come in and stop and come in at any time during the day. And don't just think at night, when you're done watching the nightly news, is when you got to go around and lock everything up. Yeah. You need to do that all the time. That's just how we live. I mean, and talking about Vaughan and the craziness going on over there. Yeah, I mean, I tell anybody in Ontario in general, just like, always keep it locked up, and don't ever, like, you get home, shut the door, lock. And the way we set up our locks and do things, you want to make sure it's all ready to go. And then you can just sit there and really feel secure.
100%.
And I get those calls and emails all the time. And I give my number out personally to a lot of people and say, look, just call me. Like, I mean, I know you can deal with the company, but, I definitely I still have that one-on-one, when you have good conversations with people and they're really concerned about things, they look, call me, then I will deal with the company and I will help you personally, because, you know, that's just that policing thing where it's like you
That relationship.
yeah, the relationship with someone and say, yeah, I am this concerned about you. We're not just out trying to make a dollar. We're trying to make sure that we educate everyone and we love doing it and we want you to be safe.
It's important, man. The relationship aspect is important. And I think we're kind of building a community in the sense of the people who are concerned about what's happening. There's a lot of voices out there that are speaking about it, like the way you are, like the way I am, like many, many others are. And it's very important because fortification is important. And right now, security cameras don't do it. I've literally seen criminals give the finger to the ring camera and proceed with breaking into homes.
Yeah.
That's why Canadians, just to kind of tie a bow on it, need to understand that City of Vaughan is under attack right now. It's only a matter of time before it's a city near you or your city. So it's very important to fortify your home. And I highly recommend reaching out to Canada First to fortify your home. They are the best at doing this job and they care. Like Chad just beautifully said, they actually care about the country. They actually care about what's going to happen to the citizens of this country.
Absolutely.
So it's very important that we fortify our homes. But before we wrap up, I have a final segment on Couple Casuals podcast, which I call Salute. I give an opportunity to the guests to just end us off with maybe a quote, something that resonates with you, whatever you feel. Just end us off. I always like to put everybody on the spot.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know if I have too many quotes, but all I try to, I guess, instill, and like I said earlier, like I have a daughter, and what you want to do is try to instill within your home and your community and your country is, if everyone would just try to be a good person.
That's
right?
great.
Just be a good person. I mean, if you, it goes back to the rule, treat others how you want to be treated. Right. And I always say it's always the simple things. I don't need to get too complicated. But if you just think of, you know, what can I do to help my neighbor today? What can I do to help my buddy across the way? And the reason why I have this thought process for myself personally is that even when I was on the road and you're dealing with the public, and even today, everyone is going through something. Yes. Right. Everyone. You know, they might be smiling, they might be whistling down the road, but they're going through something, you know, a tragedy. Something could be small that morning. Maybe they just got to take it, right? Like it could be anything, but someone's going through something. So whenever you have interactions with people and maybe they come across, you know, harsh or in a bad way, it just always gives someone the benefit of the doubt that, you know, they're going through something, and try to be more uplifting and try to be that person of change, right? Because when you're out there and you're interacting with people, if you can have a smile and a good morning and whatever, they might not say good morning back, but when they walk past you, you know, they're gonna be like, you know, that was good. Like 100%. I needed that, right? So I would say just always remember everyone's going through something, and try to have a positive attitude and try to be, you know, that smiley face, and you'll get it back in return. So
that is so well said.
Yeah.
Chad, thank you so much for your knowledge, your time. Appreciate you coming over here. I appreciate Canada First, man.
Yeah.
You guys are doing a good job. Keep it up.
Yeah.
It's a good thing, and long may it continue, because we need it. Canadians need it right now. So
absolutely.
Thank you so much. Chad.
Yeah. Thank you for your time. I really appreciate it.
I appreciate you, man. And I appreciate all of you guys. Make sure to fortify your home. And thank you guys so much for all the love and support. Until next time, I love everybody else. Ciao.